Hiya. So I don't normally have my beads in just a little crazy mess here, but I cut up the other one of these because instead of 3-drop square stitch, or what I call cookie stitch myself, not that that's what other people call it, I'm going to do a video for regular square stitch. So this particular earring kit is the Tapestry. It's in the Tapestry series, which is different square stitch ones. And you start by tying onto your finding. If you bought this kit, there is or any of the Tapestry kits or any of the kits, there are step-by-steps in there showing you, all these things that I'm going to show you. But the videos, I do understand, are super helpful for people. So we start by creating our foundation row on our finding. So I started with 2 beads. Every row on this kit starts with 2 beads. So I just tucked the tail up into the first bead. I've gone around through my finding, and now I'm going to go back up through my second bead to nestle that up against my finding. So when you have the kits, I'm going to continue along here, adding one at a time. Add one, loop around my finding, go back up through it. When you have the kits, it comes with the color pattern showing you what order they go in, and then there's usually like a separated out color pattern image showing you bead by bead what order they go in. So at this point, I'm going off of the color pattern showing me what order my beads are going in. And this first step is going to be really tight. So you're doing very snug tension. You want this quite stable up against your finding. You don't want it to be able to have any room to gape open and drape downwards with the weight of the beads, because we are going to be adding a lot of beads. Oh, if you haven't watched my videos before, I go on tangents and sometimes I get a little sing-songy. And that's just who I am, so welcome. I'm Jillian. And this is square stitch. So we've started our base row, okay? So now what we're going to do is each row starts with 2 beads. Now, I want this side, so this is the front side of my earring. I actually want to flip this over. I want to be looking at the back side of my work, okay? So I'm going up through the second bead, back around, and up through the first bead. So square stitch is a lot of loopy, loopy, loopies. So I need to prep for my next bead that I'm adding. So I'm going back down through that one and up through my third one, ready to add the next bead. So every other time you're going to be coming up from the bottom towards your new bead, now you'll hear me say this in other videos, you are in charge of the beads. So here I need this a little looser because I want them to sit next to each other instead of being pulled towards each other like that. So I need to make sure there's enough room in the thread that they will sit next to each other. So every other time you're coming up from below and you're circling back just through the last bead that you added, and the foundation beads, of course, and then back up through the new one and the foundation bead. Okay, nice and snug. Okay, now I'm coming down towards my new bead. So when you're coming down towards the new bead, you loop around through the previous bead from below And then you also go down through your newest beads and you come up from below for your new bead again. Okay, so you alternate. You're coming from below and then you're coming from above, and then you're coming from below and you're coming from above. Now don't worry if your side bead does this a little bit, because when you are adding the bead above it, it's going to straighten out in there like that. Okay, so again, I'm adding one at a time because I'm coming from below. I'm always looping back through my previous beads before kind of going forward again. So I'm coming up through my new beads, pull it nice and snug. You'll see me go whoop, whoop, back and forth, side to side, whatever works for you. This is a little bit unnatural the way I'm doing it because I'm recording at the same time, but I hold it the way I'm holding it here when I'm actually beading. Sometimes when I'm doing this, I'm talking and talking and I forget what I've done. And if I'm looping around an extra time without needing to, but you know what? It'll just hold on even tighter if that's what I've done. I don't think it is. I think I was talking while I added that bead, so we're gonna just keep going. So, adding a bead, coming up from below, pulling it snug, adding a bead, kind of holding it there with my finger for now. Oh, getting tangled in the tail. Weird. Now, when I get to this very end, I tend to flip it over just because it's a little bit easier to control what's happening here. Now, I flipped it. When I say flipped it over, I just rotated it. I didn't flip it front to back. I'm still making sure I'm looking at the back side of that earring hook, the lever back. Okay, now adding the last bead on this side. Now, as I do this, I want to make sure that I thread my tail through there, tail thread. Usually I'll feed the tail thread through, I don't know, a few rows, 4 or 5 rows maybe, and then I cut it off right at the base, nice and close to the bead there. Okay, so that is row 1. Now guess what? We only have like 437 more rows to go. You got this! Yeah! Just kidding. You do have this. It's just there's not 437 rows. So you're welcome. I mean, unless you want to make some really epic earrings. Okay, square stitch. Here we go. Start each row with 2 beads. We are going down only through our most recent row. Okay, you don't go all the way back through. We're going to make sure that tail thread goes up through that bead. Doopy-doopy-doo. Like that. And again, we loop around. Back down through this buddy. And up through the next guy. Doot doot. And then I tend to just give my needle a little pull upwards here to make sure that they will sit next to each other. Give it a little extra movement, a little extra thread on that thread bridge. If you haven't watched my other videos, I tend to call these little threads that go between the beads here thread bridges, because that's what they look like, is a thread bridge. I don't know if there's a technical term, but that is a term you will hear me use all the dang time. So again, we're coming from the top on this one. We loop around, back through the previous ones, down through our newest one, And since we just came from the top on that new bead, we know we're going to come from the bottom on this one. So sometimes if you're finding it's a little hard to get your needle up in there, just kind of push up with your finger from the back and down with your needle towards it. And because these beads are round, you will find a little place for your needle to go through. So down through the previous beads, making sure it's nice and snug, and up through the new one we added. Okay, so you are adding a bead, looping around through your previous beads. You're using your previous row to stabilize, and then you're getting ready for your newest bead, right? Adding a bead, you loop around through the previous beads, go up through your most current beads, and we're ready for the newest bead. So guess what? Now you just need to continue doing this. Keep going all the way. So keep beading. I'll do a little fast forward action here in this for you. So in this kit, each earring, you are going to use 3 pieces of thread, 2 for the woven section, because otherwise the thread that you would need, the length of it for this woven section was crazy long. And the longer your thread is, the more frustrated you will get when it's getting caught on things. I will stop when it's time to kind of weave my tail through and add the new thread so I can do that with you, okay? So until then, you're going to keep going. So don't forget, each row starts with 2. You're adding 1 at a time, looping back through your previous beads, and get ready for your new bead, okay? See you in a minute. Okay, so I'm at the end of a row where my thread is pretty short. It's 8 inches long. And what I'm going to do is just weave off through my piece before I start my next thread. So I have my 1 bead. I'm actually going to go around my little loop like I'm supposed to do. But I'm going to go back up through here and bury this. So what I would... needle came off the thread, of course, because I'm filming. So that's normal. Oh yeah, that's awesome also. Okay, so now we have the needle back on the thread. So we are going to go up through, say, 5 beads, 4 beads, 5 beads. I'm going to loop around 1 thread bridge here. I'm going to go through this and create a little hitch, wobble, wobble. Then I'm going to go up through a few more beads. And again, I'm in this second row over, not on an edge row, just because I'll use those edge rows later when I'm adding the fringe. And that's that. So now I'm going to grab my other piece of thread, which I do not magically have ready. Un momento. Okay, so I have my thread my needle. So this is the second piece of thread. You will have 4 good pieces for the woven top, okay? And some extra. You will have extra. So looking at my back, I want to be coming out of this guy over here. So what I'm actually going to do is in the 3rd row over, I'm going to start up here somewhere. So I'm just starting like, I don't know, 9 beads from the end. I'm going to go down through, let's say 3 of them. Definitely be aware of how tight it feels, just in case you need to pick a different path. I'm leaving my new tail at about 1 inch. Again, I'm going to loop around a thread bridge right next to what I'm doing here. So you just want to catch some of those threads. There should be 2 threads in most of those spots. As long as you're kind of digging down and coming back up, you should not have a problem catching enough of the thread to not create a problem in your beadwork. I can't think of the word that I'm trying to think of right now. A problem. A problem. We're just going to call it a problem because I can't think of the word I'm trying to think of. So I tied around my thread bridge. I'm going to pull on that a little bit. Then I'm going to go back into that same row. So I'm in my 3rd row, and I'm going to go down through the beads. Okay. Doodly-doo. Doodly-doo. Okay. We're going to weave this way. I'm going down through 2 just as though I'm trying to kind of mimic where I was going in that previous row. Okay, so I've added my thread, and now I'm just going to continue on with how I was beading until I get to the bottom, and I will meet you there. We're going to pretend the bottom's like right there. The bottom will probably be there. Not that that matters. It doesn't matter. Have fun beading. See you in a minute. Okay, so last bead, last row. We are going to, similarly to how we hid the other one up here, we're going to go up our, that was a fib. We are going around our last little loopy here. Now we're going to go up a few. Let's go up 4. You don't have to do 4. You can do 3. You can do 5. You can do 6 even. We will all be okay. Doing our little loop around the hitch and through our loop before we pull it tight. Okay, and then I'm going to go up a few more if my beads will let me get in there. Oh my goodness. Again, this kind of stuff only happens when I'm trying to record. Because this is like my final row, I'm going to actually do another little hitch just to make 100% sure that last row is nice and secure, because we are going to be having our fringe come off of there. And we're going to go up through a few there. Da, 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 da. Okay, we are ready to now add our fringe. So on a separate card, you should have a length of thread that I have not measured out yet for this video, so I'm going to quickly do that. You should have a card to that says fringe or bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're going to grab a piece of that. You should have 2 and an extra. Thread my little needle here. How I thread my needle, I squish my thread between my fingers. Oh, you can't see that, and it's white thread, so it's like almost impossible to see. Squish it between my fingers so I can't see it, but I know where it's hiding in between my fingers. And then I push my needle down on top so that it comes out through the hole, because I cannot see to just like freewheel push the thread through there. Freewheel. Don't use the terms I use. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Okay, back side. That's not it. That's the front side. This is my back side. So just like your instructions say, you're going to run your thread down through some beads. Again, it's not detrimental how many beads. You just need to make sure you're going down the side seam. You're going to go through 3, 4, 5 beads. I like 5 sounds great, hey? Then you're going to go around your thread bridge. We're going to do that twice when we are starting out this new piece of thread for our fringe. So once, go down through some more beads. The needle wanted to come out down there, so I think we went through about 6 beads there. I don't want to pull this too hard because I don't want this half hitch to let go. I'm going under that thread bridge. Doo-doo-doo. Sound effects actually help. I don't know how often you talk to yourself when you're beading. I don't actually know if I talk to myself while I'm beading, but I might. Okay, I want to make sure I'm looking at my back side again. So on your pattern, it's going to tell you how many round beads to do. And then you are going to do the little pattern that's in your beads, because each kit has a different pattern. Just make sure you are following your pattern as to what your kit says you're supposed to do. So I have my beads. We're going to push them up against our beadwork. We're going to skip the bottom one. And then we're going to go up through the rest of them. And I'm going to go through the last 2 bead rows that I have on there. Pull it snug. And then down through the next one. Now, we are not going to keep our fringe crazy snug like that. I'm going to show you what I do as I go. I keep it taut, and then I always give my fringe a little rub on my, this is suede. It used to be a skirt, and I cut it up. It's from the thrift store. Super flat, low pile suede, and I quite love it for gripping my beads as I'm sitting and working on them and being able to give my fringe good tension. 5, 6, 7, and then we go bead, 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 bead. Okay, so your fringe is round beads and your beadwork is cylinder beads. Cylinder beads are slightly smaller than the round beads. So your fringe is going to be a little crowded. That's intentional. I wanted it to be like full kind of free-formy looking fringe. I didn't want it to be like direct fingers just hanging down. This is just my personal choice with this design. If you have bought the pattern and you would like your fringe to hang just straight down from your beadwork, then use cylinder beads. Use the same beads that you use for your actual woven section. Oh, we did not go up through 2 beads there, so I am going to make sure I go up through 1 more bead. It is not the end of the world. Oh, that feels snug. I don't want that. If this bead breaks while I'm videotaping this, I might cry. Murphy's Law, by the way, if you're new to beading, Murphy's Law is a bead will break when you're like almost done your piece, because that's how Murphy works. I don't know if you know who Murphy is, but he like is the ruler of frustrating situations, ironic moments in life, some might say. Okay, so you're going to keep going and finish your fringe. This will pop into a little fast forward action for you so that you don't have to sit and listen to me go on to tangents for the rest of me making the fringe. What? Yes, please do. There's lots. I love you. I'm going to make dinner soon. I'm just filming a video. See, that was my son, and now I have to decide whether I'm going to keep that in the video, because that's just my life. My door is shut. If you don't have kids yet, and you're thinking of having kids, or a husband, or any of those things, you need to know they don't go away. They're always there. Even if you have a whole separate room with a door that shuts, and a note on the outside of that door that says, "Shh, I'm recording. Thanks." With a smiley face. Actually, I can't say that the sign has a smiley face. I don't even know if it has a smiley face. This is probably a good time for me to also mention I love my children and my boyfriend, and they're great human beings. And I don't wish any ill will towards them. I love them. But you know what? Everybody needs a little time by themselves. Everybody deserves a little break sometimes. And when I shut my door, that's supposed to be the clue. It hasn't worked yet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You may be fast forwarding this yourself at this point and just waiting until I get to the end of this row because you don't want to hear me jabber on about how much I love. Ow! I just poked my thumb. See, karma. Don't talk badly about your family. Oh, that's too funny. You have to laugh, right? Because there is a lot of really sad things in the world. So when you find something that you can laugh at, do it. See the funny side of life. Oh, my hands are sweating. I gotta wipe them off. Okay. Only 2 more fringes. I mean, if you haven't fast forwarded by now, thank you. I appreciate you putting up with my shenanigans. And, oh no. Oh. I hope I didn't put a wrong bead in somewhere. So I cut up the earring in order to remake it. I know a couple beads went sideways. They're not sitting here. But when going and putting all the beads on here like this, and I see 1 too many red and missing 2 of that pinky color, one is going to think that I may have put a pink bead in here somewhere where there's supposed to be a red bead. And that's just life. That's life. That's where the bead wanted to be. And who am I to tell the bead it's not supposed to be there? Well, I'm the designer, and when I post pictures, I actually do cut it up and remake it when that happens. So there's that. That actually happens. Well, we're at the end here, and look at that. 1 more blue one. Okay. So we're at the very end. Last little finger fringy friend. I am going to, you can do one of 2 things. You can go up through these 2 beads, down through the next 2, and tie onto the thread bridge that is between these 2 fringes, and then come down through this fringe. Or you can weave up the side and tie onto the bridges, whichever you like. One is the method I very often do when making like woven fringe earrings where most of the drape is actual hanging fringe. That's where I actually tie off in between these pieces. But I have quite a bit of woven section here, and cylinder beads actually have more room on the inside of them than some of these round beads do, so I'm going to actually just tie off up here. So I've gone up through some extra beads. I'm going to go under my thread bridge. We're going to free that little finger fringe guy, tighten that one, up through a few more, free the same little guy that would like to be involved in this last little bit. Oh, I'll lose my thread there. Go through. So we have a couple little hitches in there, and then I'm gonna hide my thread. And now all I have to do is trim these little tails. 1 little tail, 2 little tail. I've been asked a few times why I don't use the little buzz heat dude melty guy with the little wire element that like melts your thread. I just don't like them. I don't want to risk having a little burnt piece of white thread there on the end. I would rather have it just sit just like that. So there we go. There is Tapestry kit. There's a bunch of different patterns to choose from, and I hope you've enjoyed this little square stitch video, little comparison of single bead 1 by 1, a lot more time to do this, and kind of a quick method that I call cookie, and the actual tension of the beads is kind of similar. This one does feel floppier. This one feels more woven together, like has body structure to it. Okay, we're all done. I can't speak anymore, so there you go. That's the end of the square stitch video. See you later, friends.